So now that short cycles and benchmarks are starting to approach for our first units, I've had a couple of questions about how to set up GradeCam, how to set up both classes and import students. So I thought I'd just make a short video that you could reference as you're doing this. So the first thing you're going to do once you log into GradeCam is to go ahead and select classes, and you're just going to add a class. So I'm just going to add a test class today, period 99, and done. Once I've created the class, GradeCam now wants me to input my students into the class. There are two ways to do this. One way, which is very daunting and will take forever, and a pretty easy, fast way. So if you want to, you can click the add button, and this will allow you to add each individual student and assign them an individual ID number. With 130 students, this would take quite some time, but if you choose to do it that way, that's up to you. It is important to note here, though, that each student needs their own unique student ID, and that no two students should have the same identification number, even if they're in separate classes. So what I did when I input my first two science classes is for my first period class, I had those student IDs from 1 to 30, and for my second period class, when I assigned them IDs, I went from 31 to 60 so that there were no repeats. So this way is going to take quite some time, so I'm not going to do that. There is a faster way. We'll go ahead and click Import Students. So GradeCam allows you to import an Excel file directly into the program, and it will take care of putting all of the names in for you. In order to get that Excel file, you can go on ngrade, and when you open up your gradebook for a specific class, in the top right hand corner where the print button is, you can select print, and it will drop down that menu of different options, and the bottom option is to extract the gradebook. You'll want to select extract gradebook, and when you do extract that gradebook, it's going to give you an Excel sheet. Now, that Excel sheet is going to have a lot of information in it. It's going to include every assignment that you have in your grade book, along with every single student's grade on that assignment. But it will also include their names, which is really the information that we're interested in. So you're going to want to take all of that extra information that's in all of these cells out here and just delete it. All you want in the Excel document is you want the heading to be first in the first row, then last and student ID, and then in column A you've got all your first names, column B's got all your last names, and then in column C we'll have a student ID. You're going to want to delete any student ID that came from ngrade. Those student IDs are too long and they won't work with GradeCam, so we're just going to create sort of arbitrary IDs for the students. So if this was my first period class I was doing, I would go ahead and just assign the first student ID number 1, the second student ID number 2, and then just continue that all the way down until I get to my last student. In this case, I have 29 students in the class, so for my second period class, I would start those student IDs at number 30 to 60. So now I have all the information I need for ngrade to work, so I'm going to go ahead and just save this file, and just click no there, just sure, save. And I'm going to go back over to GradeCam. Now I'm going to choose that file that I want to bring in. I'm going to open it up and import it. Once I've imported it, it needs to know some information about the columns and the rows. So we are going to make sure that this is on comma separated values, and we do have a header in row 1, which was first name, last name, and student ID. So we do want to make sure that that's selected at row 1. And then click next. Now it's asking me basically just to align each column with the correct information that's in the document. So column 1 is the first name, column 2 is the student's last name, student ID is located in column 3, and then the GradeCam ID is just going to repeat the student ID. That's how that ID is used when you hold up the Scantron to the camera. It reads it as, number 3, which then links the grade to Chris Tiger, who is student ID number 3. So we'll go ahead and select next, and now I have my first name, my last name, and then my student ID and GradeCam ID should be the same number. So everything looks good. I have my entire class here, and I'm ready to submit. So once I've submitted, it'll bring me back to my class with all of my students who are listed in alphabetical order. And let's say that I want to print my Scantrons now to give my first short cycle. So I'm going to come over to Forms, and I don't want to print blank forms. You can print blank forms. It's good to have on hand for if you get a new student, or if something happens, I don't know, the student messes up on his, you can just give him a blank one and he can fill in his ID. So I'm going to go ahead and use my test class here, and it gives me the name of the student. Their GradeCam ID is already filled in, so you don't have to have the student do that. And you can just print directly from this page, and it will print all of your Scantrons off. And so students just have to fill it out and then bring it up to the camera and get it graded. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any other questions or any problems while you're trying to set this up, please let me know. I'd be happy to help.